The agent didn't give me nothing. They just said, hey, these are the code violations. Figure it out on your own. Well, me being who I am. So, you thinking about buying a home that's got code violations? Well, let me put you up on some game, because today in the classroom with your favorite, I'm going to go ahead and lace your boots. So, quick story time. Now, I'm representing a buyer who's looking at a property that has code violations and has liens against it. What does that mean? You see, when a home gets code violations, what it did is the county or the city came out and recognized that there were some violations that had to do with either safety, health, or some type of unpermitted work with a home. Typically, it's because of a neighbor calling it in, unless it's just something that's completely blatant on the front yard that everybody who's passing through can see. But now in this case, it really just had to do with a Karen, so to speak, right? Now look, when you're going through this process and you're thinking about finding a home, because the thing is that sellers who have these kind of liens or violations against the property are looking to sell and sell fast, and the benefit to that is it's typically at a discount. So if you're working with an agent, you really want someone who's experienced and knows how to navigate these waters, because it is very, very, very expensive if it's the wrong kind of violations. So let me just break it down just a little bit further. A code violation is when it's some type of violation to some type of code or statute that the county or city has when it comes to homes or building permits or something that has to do with health and safety. Now, a lien against a property typically just means it's fees. So in this case scenario, we have a property that had gotten 3 code violations, and these 3 code violations were amounting to some fees. So the county put a lien against the property to get these fees from the seller. Now look, there are 2 types of real estate professionals. I am lucky to have come across a realtor who, in a transaction similar to this, gave us full disclosure, which means they let us know exactly why these violations happened. They gave us a detailed summary, so that way when we came in with our engineers and our contractors, we knew exactly what we needed to clear these code violations with the county. In this case, however, there was an agent who only gave us the code violations. And when I prompted the agent, said, hey, can you give me a little bit more detail on exactly what happened for these code violations? The agent didn't give me nothing. They just said, hey, these are the code violations. Figure it out on your own. Well, me being who I am, I made it happen, Captain. So I went down to the city planning and building department, and I went and spoke to the compliance officer who violated the property. And fortunately, they're very professional where I'm at, and they say, hey, this is exactly what happened. He gave me the information. I said, cool. Now I contacted my contractors, said, hey, this is what we're looking at. Met them at the property, went and go ahead and went through the property, outside, inside, top side, the whole nine, okay? We go through and we really kind of look at everything in detail, check all the boxes and say, okay, this is exactly what we're gonna need to go ahead and clear these codes. Now the thing about clearing the codes, this is what I mentioned earlier, it can get really, really expensive. It could be something simple, but in this case it was not. And in order to clear code violations with the county or the city, you have to have an engineer come out, which you pay for, to tell you exactly how the work needs to be done to fix or remedy the code violations. They draw up the plans, then they go back to the county planning department, submit these plans, which you pay for, and if there's an architect that's needed, you pay for that too, and then the county puts a rubber stamp on it to approve the plans, which you pay for again. Then you got the plans, you take your plans, you bring it to your contractor. Now your contractor goes out and does the work, and that's called labor. And then there's still material, which you, the buyer, are paying for. So as you can see, there are a lot of upfront costs associated with clearing code violations. However, you are getting the property at a discount. So in this case, I'm representing the buyer. I go do all my due diligence. I lay it all out on the table, say, hey, these are exactly what we need to do. Let's go ahead and meet the contractor. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get some bids on prices to get the work done. Let's submit all the plans. Now, all these things is you can't necessarily submit the plans and pay for these engineers. I mean, you can, but look, you really don't want to until you get into contract. Now, we weren't even in contract yet, you see, because the agent on the selling side was doing what they were doing, which wasn't too much of nothing. And at the end of the day, I got to do what I got to do, and I got to protect my buyer, protect my client, because that's the name of the game. I'm in it for the relationships, not just transactions. So I got all the information, presented it to my client. He was interested. He went ahead and made an offer. We submitted the offer, and it was not accepted. We took into consideration all of the pricing and everything that was needed. We gave them a short close, but we did come in way under, and they weren't having it, so they didn't accept it. But it's okay, because come to find out, when the engineers went out there, they found more violations, y'all. So that price that the other person bought it for ended up being a lot more, because more violations were found on the property. But now the current buyer is responsible for it because they acquired the property, and you know, it is what it is. I can't really speak to that. And if you are interested, if you're an investor or a savvy fix and flipper, and you're not afraid of rolling up your sleeves and getting out there and getting some of this money, you see, there is a lot of opportunity in these styles of properties. They don't come up very often, and when they do come up, just know there's typically some real issues that come with it. Not all properties you find that are fix and flips will have code violations. If you're lucky, you might be able to find some where you can get in there, do the remodel work and contractor and all the stuff, and get the property done, fix it, flip it, and boom, get your money on. But in other cases, there's code violations, and you got to deal with that. So make sure whoever you got as your representation knows what they're doing. You understand me? I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell, baby. Peace.